Hey y'all, this is Matt Erdman, and you are listening to another episode of Oak Performance Radio. Go ahead and enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Oak Performance Radio. I'm your host, Adam Lane. If you're new to the show, our goal here is to create some fantastic content for athletes, parents, and coaches. We tell stories, have laughs, and go into everything that is the end game of athletic performance, helping athletes achieve their optimal performance and be the best they can possibly be. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Oak Performance Radio. I'm your host, Adam Lane. With me today from beautiful Nebraska, Coach Matt Erdman. Coach Erdman, how are you doing today?
Hey, I am doing great, man. Thanks for having me on here.
Look at this weather, Matt. Look at this beautiful weather.
It's wild. I mean, end of September, I'm in shorts and a t-shirt outside, and it's going to get hot today. I mean, 85. It's not Texas hot, but it's hot enough.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty typical Nebraska weather right there. Look at that. You know, won't be cold or anything. No. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for the cold?
No, I'm ready for fall. Fall is my favorite. I love wearing sleeves and sweatpants, and I will do that as long as humanly possible. The cold I'll tolerate, but fall and like early spring are the money seasons for me.
I'm with you. We're supposed to camp. My wife's family has gone up to Devil's Lake, Wisconsin, which is a couple hours north. It's absolutely beautiful up there every Columbus Day. And on that Columbus Day, it's ranged anywhere from being 85 and 90, and we're just sweating in a tent, and it's awful, to being 32 and we're freezing in a tent. So that's what we're expecting. Somewhere between 32 and 85 is kind of where, you know.
And you got to pack for all of it. You got to bring stuff for everything just in case.
Just in case. Matt, for the tens of people that listen to the show that might not know who you are and why you're such a big deal, tell these people who you are and why you're such a big deal.
Oh my gosh. I love it. My name is Matt Erdman. I've known Adam for, man, I don't even know how long, handfuls of years through various different places throughout coaching. So started coaching probably about 11, 12 years ago and started basically volunteering at a local high school. Wanted to get back in and volunteering, and they allowed me to come in, and I didn't leave for 4 years. So it was kind of like one of those overstayed your welcome, but I didn't care because it was fun. And got to learn a ton of stuff and learned quickly. I didn't know nearly anything compared to what I needed to know to help those kids get better. And that just kind of started my journey of getting to the point of working on sharpening my craft as a coach. Instead of just repeating the same thing, I had to go out and find smart people, which wasn't hard, to educate me as we went. And, you know, my first 4 years essentially was attached with the football team at a high school in Fort Collins, where we got to see a whole class from freshmen through seniors. And, you know, about that senior year, I started looking at this and saying, man, we got some really, really strong kids, but they are still really bad on the field for some reason. Like, how is this kid squat, you know, almost triple his body weight, but still gets dominated on the line of scrimmage? And thus enters the smart people and talking about, hey, how much force can they produce? How much can they do rapidly? You know, this whole RFD thing, I was like, I don't even know what that is. And so it just started down this whole realm of strong is good, but there's still more to the recipe to help them get better. And that just kind of led me from one coach to another. And now we're to the point of a lot of what we do is speed based, because like you could probably look at anywhere where people are listening to this, there are pretty much every high school or school in general has a person that runs a weight room, whether we can argue the quality of it at a different length of time. However, there's people there. And so when we got into this, and as I was kind of rounding up my time with the high school, you know, almost 9 years ago, I never had a kid or a family come to me on the side and say, hey, I need to bench press more. I mean, the guys did because they always want to bench press. Or, hey, my squat needs to get to X. It was, I need to jump higher. I need to run faster. And that kind of put me in the spot of, okay, well, I should probably figure out how to do that if that's what you guys want to do. And so now we're kind of in that realm of that's a lot of what we do. It's not to say that strength isn't important, but essentially strength for the most part is getting taken care of by clubs and or schools. And we're filling the buckets of how can we turn you into a really explosive athlete with the strength that you've gotten. And a lot of it is also partnering with these places to, right, being a private facility of what we do is to not try to compete and say, well, you shouldn't lift with your school or your team. You should come lift with us. I'm like, you know what, lift with your school and then come with us and we'll teach you how to get fast and explosive and all the things that will make you easier to coach. And so that's kind of the journey we were on. We did a family move, about 2 months ago. Now we're in Western Nebraska, getting stuff set up and connecting with as many families and communities and teams and schools that we can get to be able to help kids here just realistically improve their confidence, right? If you're not in a metro area, a lot of times it's mentally a challenge to go from a town where we're at. We got 2 towns combined. Essentially, there's about 22,000 people. And you go play teams in Lincoln and Omaha, which is slightly bigger than 22,000 people. It's sometimes it's that mental piece of like, oh, they got all of this and all of that. They got more of these things. And we just want to be able to give these kids a confidence boost and a fighting chance to get on the field and know that they can compete without even being beat before they even step out there.
Very cool. And so not only did family move, but Veritas Athletic Performance also moved.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So we had doors open. We had a brick and mortar for just about 3 years in Northern Colorado, and then family move, business move. So now we're set up here in Western Nebraska and getting our name out as best we can and just helping kids improve and get confident. It's amazing when you can get someone to feel how they should be able to run and run fast, about how much their face lights up. They're like, holy cow, that feels amazing. It was like, it didn't feel like it was that hard. I'm like, well, that's kind of the point. And yes, you should put in effort, but running hard and running fast are usually 2 totally separate ideas. And it's an education piece. And for, the kids and families that come in and trust us to do that, it's awesome to see their progress and just their confidence shoot through the roof.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. So it's interesting because I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater here, being like, you're not saying don't lift weights. There, that I want.
Yeah, you still can't be a 104-pound senior guy and think that you're going to go out there and be able to compete in almost anything unless you're just some kind of freak of nature. They've got to lift.
Yeah. But then on the other side, like you said earlier, to look like Tarzan, play like Jane. Oh my gosh, I can squat so much in the weight room, and look at my bench press, and it's amazing. And then you go out there and, you're like a planet and everyone's orbiting around you as they sprint by you, is obviously not good either. Within the volleyball space, I know I've talked to a lot of our coaches, and they kind of feel that the gift of vert is truly that. It's you have it or you don't. You got bunnies or you don't. And it just, hey, God decided to gift you with this or he did not. And that's how that works. And the high kids that jump high, and the kids that don't. You could say the same for speed. Matt, when you're trying to drive speed, and can we combine speed and like the vertical explosive piece together? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for the most part, power is power, right? I don't think I've seen someone that can run fast. They can't jump high, right? You look at sprinters that get in the blocks and they do that little explosive jump and it looks like they're 34 feet in the air. I would venture to say that they don't really practice how high they jump. They just figure out how to produce power and force quickly. And that's an expression of it.
Yeah. I'm amazed how we've done some of these USR, speed clinics, free speed clinics. We've scanned out local volleyball teams, stuff like that. And we have kids that aren't runners at all. They're not runners. They jump, and our top 5 jumpers happen to be our top 5 sprinters. And they don't know what they're doing when they're sprinting. Like there's some form stuff that definitely needs to be cleaned up, but it's funny how they definitely do connect. Let's go back to, hey, I'm a parent of a kid or I'm a coach, and, the idea of speed is a gift. You either have it or you don't, which obviously both of us disagree with. How do we drive this athleticism? How do we drive speed? How do we drive this force production vertical? What do we do?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question because it is, right? I mean, from the generation where we were at, it was the same thing, right? Either you were fast or you weren't, right? go out there and run on day one of whatever sport it was. Fast kids are over here, slow kids are over there, and the slow kids never got a chance to repeat to see if they were ever fast. And, a big piece of it, especially for like, we looking at like more like high school kids or just kids in general? Okay. So for middle school, it's been super interesting. Um, if you look at shoes and how well shoes are made, or how poorly shoes are made, whichever direction you want to look at that, you could say six one, half a dozen the other. But they do such a good job of doing what they say they do, which is cushion the foot, make you feel comfortable, right? You're basically walking on giant marshmallows. And you have kids that come in and they run and they have no idea what part of their foot that they're hitting, where they're striking, because the force gets absorbed so quickly through the shoe that they really don't feel anything coming up through their body. And so they just know that they're putting in 100% effort and they're still in like second gear. And right, everyone else is looking at them like, why aren't you running faster? Like, you look like you're trying to break the earth as this goes. And so it's interesting, right? And so you have a conversation with kids and parents like, hey, do this, kick your shoes off, right? We're gonna let one rip here on the turf without your shoes on, right? Before we do this, boom, here's the biggest things I need you to think about, right? Go through front half of your foot, heel should float, right? Because if you think of this, you just stand there and pull your feet up and you just stand on your heels. They're just like, yeah, it doesn't feel great. And I said, perfect. That's an immediate response from your brain to your body to say, probably shouldn't do that. And so you get them. And I mean, even if you just do like a 5-10 fly or even like a basic 3/4 jog and you have them run and they stay on the front half of their feet because they know if they hit their heels, the look on their face is almost like you just unlock some cheat code for them, because there's like, that was easy. And I floated and it felt like I was going really fast. So like, that's a huge piece of it. You're not going to dive into 1,000 different types of mechanics on almost any of these kids, because unless they're going to be an Olympic sprinter, like, that level is kind of wasted on what you're trying to accomplish. You're going to talk way more than you give them reps. Right. And so you do what a good coach should be able to do, is to explain it as simple as possible, as quickly as possible, to let them go out and get it. And sometimes it's just as simple as, hey, guess what? Take your shoes off, hit the front half of your foot, go fast. Right. And then they go fast and they're like, I think I can go faster. So that's a great idea. Let's see if we can go faster. And so that just kind of helps tie together the mechanical piece of it as it goes. Now, obviously, you go into 1,000 other parts, but if you can get that to connect early as they're growing and as they feel that, as they continue to grow, that will always be something that they could almost auto correct on their own as they're out running, playing, jumping around, to realize like, oh, that was a heel strike. Probably shouldn't do that again. Let's adjust.
Yeah. I'm amazed how, and this goes to my old school track and field days, because nobody ever coached, especially distance running. Never. You would do form running, A skips, B skips, C skips, but it wasn't actually form running. We weren't doing running form. We were just doing weird, goofy warm-up drills that warm up the hips that like actually doesn't carry into running. Like, there's no actual, because you don't run like that. That's not a thing. And so when pose running came out, the Nicholas Romanoff back in the day, and like, this actually started to make a little sense of it. Like, nobody's ever told people to run on the ball of their foot. And, sprinters, their heel will not touch, but with distance runners, the heel could touch it. It just doesn't touch first, and it will kiss the ground. So to get a kid, to stand and then to jump like they're jumping rope, and like, guys, what part of the foot is hitting the ground? Oh, my toes. Yeah. Front half of the foot. Like, there we go. It's amazing how, and you said it, the shoe basically disconnects their mind from their body because they're so padded and there's no feeling. And you take away that shoe and you put them on the turf, or I've had them run on the rubber too. It's just a little less forgiving. But they shorten up their stride really quick, because if not, it really hurts.
Yeah. If they kick out in front and they had that heel strike and they dig in, like you Fred Flintstone, that hurts barefoot.
Yes. Fred Flintstone, that's so accurate.
No, like, I got to come with new material. Most of the kids have no idea who that guy is anymore.
I've made the reference to Gumby quite a bit with the force plate stuff. If somebody's load within that explode little variable, you're kind of built like Gumby. nobody gets it anymore. And I don't even know if they got it 10 years ago, but I was making the joke 10 years ago, and I'm still hanging on to it. Still hanging on to it.
So Adam, with the volleyball girls that you've trained, you got all this data and everything that you guys do with them so well. How much can you just basically point at your jumpers? Like, you can just directly tie the dot to your best jumper to your fastest person. Yeah. And is that like, how for the families who are new, or the players that are new coming into the training setting or the club, however it works, how much do they buy into that, even with all the data and information that you have to get them to say, okay, we'll do that? Or is like, they kind of still look at that with a skeptical eye, even with all the info that you got on it?
I think I'm pretty persuasive in what we do, and this is why, I mean, we reconnected here through USR, and I didn't jump on USR years ago, even though I had a conversation with oh my gosh, what's his face, Dylan, long time ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. And like, oh, it's expensive, blah, blah, blah. Because we were doing fly 10s. Sometimes we time them, but it's a lot of work to get that dasher system set up and, do the thing. Like, just run. We have turf. It has yard lines. Okay. Hey, from the 15 to the 25, you run as fast as you can. Okay, great. Da, da, da. And they were running, but were they truly sprinting? I don't truly know. And so now to be able to do a better job of having that data, and this is kind of the cool part within USR. When we did the speed clinic with that volleyball team I was talking about, I posted, the top, I think, what does USR do? The top 10 verts, and then the top 10, fly 10 times, and it's basically the same 10 kids, almost in the same order. And the only thing that's a little bit different is that there are a couple kids that did run track where form was a little bit better, which did help carry them. But for the most part, like, kids that didn't run, still found a way in which to produce force, really, really well. So I think there's a line there where you can go overboard with it. Like, they're still jumpers at the end of the day. Like, you don't want to go train them as a straight 100-meter runner, but like, yeah, they should be a athlete. I don't care, volleyball, softball, swimming, whatever. Like, you should be able to run a fly 10 and not kill yourself. No different as you should be able to do a back squat and not kill yourself. Like, just basic stuff.
And that was a good point, right? Keep the main thing, right? We're not going to turn volleyball players into 100-meter sprinters, because that would be dumb, because they play in a 30 by 30 box. So it's a means to an end of like, yes, we're going to hit some of these, but the ultimate goal of why we're doing this is because it's going to help you jump higher, and that's what you want. And it gets you in a position to be more confident, more athletic, more powerful. I mean, add whatever adjective you want in there. And the timing piece is huge, right? I mean, it would be foolish to go tell a coach like, hey, you're going to, whatever squat variation you want to pick, you're going to squat them for 8 weeks. You're not going to track their weight. You're not even going to look at it. You're literally just going to have them put whatever on the weight or on the bar or on the trap bar, or grab whatever dumbbells they want. And if it looks good, cool. If it doesn't look good, adjust. And they'd look at you like you're an idiot. But yet, right, for a lot of the reasons, most of the time we just think, okay, we'll just run fast. We don't need to pull out the timers or measure this as it goes through. When in all reality, I mean, let's be honest, if you don't time a sprint, I'd be surprised if you would have someone that would run 85% or better, because they don't have the same intent or desire or drive, because they know it's there. And a lot of kids, they don't know how to push that hard, right? You tell them a time and it's slower than someone that they think that they're better than. I tell you what, that next rep they're running way faster, because now they have some added incentive to be able to make this work. And, it's not rocket science, and it's not magic. A lot of it is just, can we drive intent? Can we put you in relatively decent shapes? And can we get you powerful? And if we can do those things, you should be pretty athletic.
Yeah. And one of my favorite things with the sprint thing, with specifically the volleyball athlete, it's amazing how comfortable they are off 2 feet. You ask them to do something off of 1 foot, you would think we took away the court and we put in, an ice rink or something like that. We're like, whoa, what's going on? I don't understand how to jump off of what? Our middles can do it going left, jumping off their left because they'll run slides, but everyone else is like, what? Huh? How? So to get that run piece where you are on 1 foot, create as much force as you can off that 1 foot, and then the other, and then the other, and then the other, as you go. It's probably one of my favorite things, specifically in the way of volleyball, in the way of how that connects, just because it's such a bilateral jumping deal that goes on. But yeah, man.
I love it. How many do you do on your force plate stuff, do you do a counter movement jump and then just like a normal squat jump without the counter movement?
Man, you asked these. Man, you turn the podcast around on me. Look at this. You're asking me questions.
No, here's why I'm asking this, is because I love, I had the privilege of helping out volleyball teams over the last 4 years, and the more I've done it, the more I have fallen in love with the sport, and just how they operate. And right, the question here is looking at differences in the ability to decel on those approaches as it goes through there, because it's interesting, right? You get a girl who can approach jump, right, and you look at her like, oh, she can fly, and then she does a counter movement jump, and it's basically almost the same thing and standing still. And we're like, wait a second, if you can jump that high standing still, and then you do your approach with 3 steps, and you're literally only 0.4 inches higher, we should probably work on some decel for you to be able to get you to make that more of a rocket instead of just
Yeah. Well, and it's funny how when we scan out athletes, and what we end up doing, because we ran with Sparta forever. And so Sparta had load, explode, drive, and I never dove into the back end of it to understand which variables within the force plate data Sparta was using. Load was basically the eccentric, creation of force. Explode was that amortization change of direction, and drive was the concentric impulse coming out. But they never gave specific force plate names to this, which honestly I was fine with. Keep it simple for Adam. I'm good with that. Since we're switching over to Hawken, we've set up a similar deal, except our load is breaking RFD. I'm going to forget what explode was. Oh my gosh. But whatever, looking at that amortization phase and the quick, and then drive the same way. But it's interesting, especially these young athletes that are very weak anteriorly, that don't create a lot of force. There's no eccentric strength there, that when they go, to jump, instead of putting force into the plate, they're like, yeah. And then they're probably good at the extension part and turning it around. But they don't create anything. And in turn, exactly, you run into the issue that, you just said there. And this is where strength training is very important. We need to load this athlete, and probably get some muscle mass on them too, because we're not asking them just to jump, but we're asking them to twist, turn, swing, land, that whole shebang there. So it's interesting how it all comes together with it. And it's fun to see the USR data, the force plate data off the force plate. Well, just the training based off of what their weakness is. We have some people that create a ton of force, but can't extend it, whether they're tight, whether they're posterior, superly weak, whatever it might be. And so we don't need any more breaking forces with those guys. Exactly. Which you just described me. I just want you to know that's exactly how I am. Adam's extensions is pretty poor, but as it gets better, then I watch my fly 10 time go down, and I feel, hey, look at this. Let's be clear, man. It's not your fly 10 time, but it's an old guy fly 10 time. But we're still sprinting at 46. So I feel good about that.
Yes. It's the fountain of youth, right? Run more, jump more, and feel way better.
How long do you think we can sprint for? What's your goal? 70? 92?
Ooh, you know what? I got talked into doing a flag football thing here by some coaches that I've gotten to know. Let's just say the decel is a lot of stress on the old body. There's a whole bunch of that in there. We want to go run. I mean, shoot, we did that in Texas, last weekend, 2 weekends ago, right? Go run some sprints, man, felt good. Could use some cleats, but that was my fault. But shoot, go out and play that and like make 40 or 50 hard cuts and breaks throughout that 90 minutes or whatever the heck it was. Dude, my knees were biting. And so straight lines, absolutely. The number of cuts will definitely be limited. I don't know, man. I think 70 is a good push. I would be happy if I could still be moving well through 55. So we'll see how we go.
What here? I'm turning this back on you. So going back to this development of speed thing, because I'm thinking of our volleyball coaches who are like, oh, well, Trixie jumps great because Trixie's got hops. That's what she does. Blah blah. So and so Sally doesn't. Sorry for Sally. I guess that's just what that's what genetics she got right there. Blah 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 blah. If you're looking to develop Sally, or this could be Sam who plays football, or Joey who does baseball, or whatever it is. Like I remember playing baseball, I'd hit the ball and my dad would yell, Lane, unhook the plow. Like I was towing a plow. Wasn't towing a plow. Just those were the genetics that were passed on from my father. So if we're trying to develop, let's go back up to a high school kid now. For speed, we're trying to develop. We're not just going to cash it in. Oh, I'm slow. My father was slow and his father was slow. We've all been slow. We're lanes. That's what we do. How do we develop speed in these high school kids?
I mean, first and foremost, we actually have to just introduce them the difference between speed and conditioning. The biggest, and it's crazy, right? The biggest thing in having conversations with families and kids and coaches is we cannot be tired and learn how to be fast at the same time. Yes, you are going to have to sprint when you're tired. That's the nature of sport, right? And if you can't do that, then we got room to improve. However, if you're already slow or you know that you're not fast and we make you tired and then we make you think on top of being tired on changing all the wiring that you've done for probably 16 to 18 years, it ain't going to work. And so the easiest thing to eliminate is fatigue, right? So if we eliminate fatigue and we get you to a point where we can teach you in an environment where you're comfortable looking and feeling dumb because we're going to make you do stuff that you're not used to, right? Now we have the opportunity to start rewiring things as we get into it. And it's a big piece of having the conversation of, we're going to do this training. We're going to warm up. We're going to rep some drills. We're going to go through and understand. And this is a hard thing too. Like this is another tangent. Drills are amazing, but drills don't make you fast. Drills give you context for how it is that you should operate within a set pattern of movement. If drills made everybody fast, we wouldn't have a job, because you could Google every drill on the face of the earth by people that do it and are way more explosive than I am, and you could just copy it and you'd be fine. But the drill gives context, and so there's got to be coaching within the drill, and it can't just be go do this and best of luck. All right, tangent off, let's go back. So we'll go through that, and then, right, we get to the point of now we got to figure out how can we produce power, right? If it's an acceleration day, we've got to go horizontal. We got to go fast, right? What are we doing?
Just a quick detail, just so, because there's going to be old school coaches out there or parents or whatever listen to this and be like, what are you conditioning? Da-da-da. No pain, no gain. This is how you do it. Man, you got to suck it up, man. You got to run fast. You could be tired and run. I might throw things at you while you run. Da-da-da-da-da. And then you just got to suck it up. Da-da-da. Why is that a terrible idea?
Oh gosh, we could count the ways. I mean, we'll go with the low hanging fruit. First and foremost, it's miserable. Like, let's be honest. Like, we just turned something really fun into the most miserable time of their life. I bet you almost every athlete could go back and look at what was the least enjoyable thing about your sport, and almost everybody would say some type of conditioning drill. And then you look at that and say, did we get better from that, or did we just get really tired and we still have that ingrained in us 30 years later down the road? And a lot of it comes down to this old, I don't want to say old even, but like this mentality of mental toughness. And, if you just got to do hard things, yeah, you do have to do hard things. Absolutely. But if you don't know why you're doing hard things, don't care. right? If you're going to go give me a shovel and tell me I need to dig 144 post holes, and it's 105 out, and I got 1 day to do it, and you don't give me a reason, I ain't digging 144 post holes, right? But if you tell me if I dig 144 post holes, that's going to give me enough money to make my family comfortable for the next 2 months, let's go. Like, I want to start digging. And a lot of times it's getting the kids to understand it's not so much buying, it's just belief in, like, do you know what you're doing? And are you doing what you say you would do, meaning getting them better for their sport, right? And what do we do with that? Well, we make them more athletic, right? We can get them faster. But a lot of it is like, hey, why do you want to do this? Right? Can we connect with the athletes that come in? And right, I've had most of the kids that come and train, everyone thinks that they're always like these stud athletes, that they're just like, oh, they're already going to college anyway. That's like 10%. The rest of them are kids who want to be confident enough to try out for a sport in middle school, right? Who want to not be the last kid picked in PE class, who want to make the jump from freshman to varsity from their first year to second year, right? The biggest thing is, like, we're just trying to get kids prepared for what's lying next in front of them, right? We're not going to take this 9-year-old quote unquote elite kid and turn them into the next college prospect. They're 9. They have like 74 levels of athleticism to complete before they become elite as it goes through. So that's that mentality of, you just got to grind. I think it comes from, that was the best that we knew a while ago, and just do hard things and you get better. And I think now we can do better things better. And we can show, I think, in general throughout the nation, let alone within our community, of all of these data points of, hey, we've gotten like 40 some thousand kids better and athletes better by doing this. And it comes from coaching and intent, timing, and being fresh. The best compliment I can get is when kids get done and they're fighting to go run another one, right? They're just like, oh, I think I got another one. I'm like, look at their times, like, you're close, give it another shot, right? And so it's that type of piece of just realizing that there's a different way to do it. And the most dangerous phrase is like, hey, this is the way we've always done it. And if that's the biggest piece, and I look at that too from a coaching standpoint. If I'm doing something for long enough, I'm like, am I doing this because it's getting kids better, or am I doing this just because it's what I've always done and I don't want to change? And then it's that dive of, okay, let's talk to other people, right? Let's connect. Let's figure out who else is doing this. Is there a better way to do it? I don't need to overhaul, but do I need to tweak as it gets into it? And for most parents, I mean, realistically, I don't know if you get those folks that are like the hardcore, make them hurt when they're done. I don't know if they really buy in until they start to see the results. And then they're just like, wait a second. They feel good. They enjoy training. They've gotten better and they want to come back. Right. And I was like, cool. That's the best compliment I could ever get. Keep them coming.
I think it's funny how simple, and this is like the early Chris Corfus stuff that we were talking about earlier, where, 05, 06, Chris was talking about this. He's like, in order to run fast, you have to run fast. And the idea, when that doesn't happen, you're not able to run fast. Like, hey, this, you're not getting anything from it anymore, and whatnot. Like you have to be able to run as fast as you possibly can. And in the second, like, we used to have our kids run fly 10s in track field wise. And if they ever started to go down, like, they were done. And, some kids would run 3 and some kids would run 7. And anywhere in between there, I was really okay with. Some kids started off a little slow, and then like it took a couple to get going. Like more of our middle distance kids and stuff like that. Or maybe they were sandbagging early on. I don't know, whatever it was, but like, it worked out. Like it is funny because it's a different culture shock from, back when you and I were kids, where we would just get the tar beat out of us in practice. And it was always funny to me at the end of football season, going back into the weight room, and we tried to lift during the season, but that was an absolute joke. but I'd put 135 on the bar in which to bench press, and it felt like 315. Like, oh my God, why am I so weak? And it's crazy because at that point in the season, you should be your strongest. You should be feeling your best, like you were. But I think I was slower, and I think I was weaker in week 9 versus week 1, and that doesn't make sense.
That's the craziest part.
Sport.
I mean, just having conversations of trying to keep kids training in season. And there's like, oh, I have practice and this. I said, yeah, I know. You're right. You do have practice. You have games. You're 100% right. But if you don't train these things and in 12 weeks, you're expected to be in the championship rounds and you haven't legitimately trained in 12 weeks, I said, you're going to be about a shell of an athlete that you were when you started this. And, I've snatched a couple GPS units from someone just to kind of play around with them a little bit. And around here, I've just started to let kids wear them at practice. And they're legitimately, right, they're like, oh, yeah, we ran hard. We did special teams, all this and that. And I pull up their numbers. And I was like, 70% of your max speed. 70%. Like, that's a jog. Right? So you can run 20 miles an hour. You ran 16.3. Like, that's not prepping you for Friday nights. And yeah, that takes a little bit for them to realize, but they're like, oh.
Yeah. Well, and how big, it's funny that you say that. So like in watching my son play 8th grade football and watching him at practice, like they'll run down on kickoff, but it's not like they're looking, like his head's on a swivel. He's looking to see how he can like weave between, potential blockers and stuff like that. He's not like as fast. And honestly, it didn't click with me until Tony Holler said it. He's like, no, they're not running to, I'm like, what do you mean you're telling me DJ Metcalf runs a fly, that's not full speed? I'm like, no, he's adjusting for the ball, blah, 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 blah. And I didn't get it until I got it. And that it's funny how, I mean, you actually have the data on it, 70%. Like, yeah, that's not, you're not going full speed. And if the goal is to get faster, you have to run fast. If you want to get strong, you have to lift weights fast and heavy. Like you can't lift little weights, it's not going to get you stronger. It has to be heavy. No different than, you want to sprint. It has to be fast. You want to jump higher. You have to jump as high as you possibly can. Doing reps of 15 on the box jump is not going to get the job done. So
yeah. And that's a huge piece too. Like that's another conversation started, like, because then the next question is like, well, how am I supposed to hit top speed in practice? I said, you don't. I said, because you can't play traditionally, like you cannot play any sport probably outside of track at your top speed outside of maybe a couple of times on just broken plays or you just cut loose and go. I said, that's why we need to train it. Because if you need that and you're going to be the single high safety and you got dudes that are going and you got to drop and you got to haul to go catch that guy running his fade route, but you haven't sprinted as hard as possible in 5 weeks because you've had easy games, or maybe it was a team that ran hard, ran heavy, so everything was like a 12-yard downhill run. You haven't touched your top speed in how long? 5 weeks, 6 weeks? And now you go try it, and you don't have fifth gear anymore, right? Hopefully you still have your hamstrings, but you don't have fifth gear. And it's an education piece, and then once they start to feel that and realize like, oh, I could come in and hit a couple sprints every week, and I still feel really good. There you go. That's the point. That's the point.
And again, like you said there, a few sprints and you're not killing them. It's not a million sprints. It's not, we're going to, we're not going to rip your, absolutely rip your lungs out of your heart and, out of your body. And, that's not the goal. That's not the goal at all. The goal is top speed. The goal is running really, really fast.
Yeah. And you only get like, if we run 2 or 3, whatever we have scheduled, and you've gotten faster every one, or you've tied it or have gotten there and you still feel good, man, we'll throw some gambler sets in there, right? If your times say that you're getting fast or you're like touching it and you're feeling good and you want to rock, cool. Hit a bonus one, right? Little Kenny Rogers there, no one to hold them, no one to fold them, and let it roll. But then you get these other kids, they're like, oh, I still feel pretty good. And you look at their times, they're like, nah, your times are dog poo. Like and they're like, well, right. Yeah, I was good, coach. I stayed up till 2 doing homework. And then, I slammed a monster on the way count. I was like, no, you're good. You're good. Shut it down. Let's recover a little bit. Bounce out of here. But yeah, it is. Once you start to intentionally look at how it is that you're tracking and training speed, it's no different than anything else. And it's just, right. It's a little bit newer on the front end. It's a little bit more cumbersome because you got to set stuff up, and sometimes a little bit more pricey because you don't just have a bar and a rack and some weights. But the return on it is wild for these kids.
And everything you said there is spot on. The ability in which to measure this accurately is a big deal. Because I know, again, going back from my track and field days, people's slow thumbs trying to time things, and trying to get exact times is not, especially if you're trying to time something like we have 126 feet in the gym to work with. We have 42 yards to work with, which is more than a lot do, so we can run in that middle 10 yards and, build up, sprint as fast as we can and have enough distance in which to slow down and not go through the wall. But it's to be exact with that in order to give the kids accurate feedback, no different than like, hey, I know 135s on the barbell, 225s on the barbell, like to be exact with that. It's not like plates with no weights. You're like, oh, I don't wonder what this weighs, like, because yeah, I'm trying to time with my iPhone. Like, no. Like you gotta be exact. And that's why you're right. It costs some money. These Dashers timers, the OVR timer, they are not cheap deals. But like, if you want good data for these kids, like that's a big deal.
Yeah. And I bought a timing system probably like 8 years ago, just when I was still training kids out of our garage and in the street. Because for me, like in my conscience, I was like, I've got to know if I'm getting them faster, because if they're going to come train and I have no idea if they're getting faster, I can't send them back to their families or their coaches and just be like, yep, they're good. They look amazing. And then they go out there and they run like a dump truck. But that was a big piece for me of just accountability as a coach of, okay, you can't mess with this. The numbers are the numbers, right? Set it up, do your thing. Cool. Run. We'll see what it looks like.
Yeah. And that's a big deal. The numbers are the numbers. No, again, no different than the weights. The weights are the weights, and the weights are unforgiving. That, 225 is going to be 225, whether you're feeling good or feeling not so good, or you got great speed. It does not. And neither do those dang timers. Cause man, I had not a long weekend, but just a little off my A game this weekend, just driving kids around. My oldest had a football game up in Madison and coming back, and it was just a busy Sunday. And I ran my sprints today, Matt, and they were not, to be clear, no records were set. I'm like, son of a gun. It's kind of, and if you can't picture this, Matt, picture a space shuttle taking off, and there's a lot of fire and smoke at the beginning, but it's just really not going anywhere. That's me trying to do these 10-yard flies. That's exactly what it looks like. But it's funny, and it's not like I was way off, but I was like 400ths off, or 400ths off my best. I'm like, son of a gun. Like, I feel like everything's going, but it is what it is. I did what I did, I think I hit three. I'm like, I'm done on the day. We'll fight to play another day, and we'll move on.
Yeah, right. I mean, can we stay within that 5% window to say that we're at least relatively close to pushing, right? I know that's usually a lot more of like the top end speed, but if weather, like most people don't live in a place where you can sprint outside year round. And so that's kind of a big piece, right? Kids come in like, oh, I didn't set a record. Like, dude, you got within 5%. Like we stayed as good as we could. We're going to take that as a win, right? If we drop out of that for more than a week, we're probably gonna have a conversation. But as far as this goes, like, let's keep it close, because we're gonna eventually break through that glass ceiling if we can keep pushing and fighting the day. Old man sprints are dangerous.
No, you're not wrong. I have a kid, Jack. I hope he listens to this. Baseball kid. He runs a 1-1-1 every time he's in here for like the last 3 weeks. He's like, damn, I just can't get it. But it's crazy. I'm like, how are you to the 100th? Like every single time, man. Like this is incredible. Like, I don't know how, like, I couldn't even like just swipe with my hand and do it. Like, how are you?
He'll probably pop off and go like 107 here this next time. Just like, whoa. It's like, that's consistent, right? I mean, you're hitting your max output. you're consistently doing it, staying the course. It's not overnight. And yeah, it's that spike will come and then he'll hit another peak and just training happens.
Matt, what did we miss? What do you wish I would have asked you that I didn't?
Oh my goodness. Man, that was a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff. This episode might break the internet. You never know.
It's just because we got the faces on there that might break it alone.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
But no, it's good. I think the biggest thing is just for parents and athletes, right. Be picky with who coaches your kid if you get that choice, right? I mean, in the private sector, obviously you do get that choice. But be selfish in the standpoint of like, find the coach who's going to pour into your kid. Because the kid who trusts their coach, right? Obviously they need to make sure that they have the credentials, the credibility, all these things. But if all things are the same, if you find a coach that can connect with your kid, regardless of their background and playing level as how high that they went, your kid will soar with the connection that they can make there, right? As long as all things are equal, the character of your coach is going to outshine as it goes to it. And that's, a huge piece for anybody who is a coach listening. Like, don't worry about what everybody else is doing in the same sector, right? Trust me. If you look at it, nobody's doing anything different in the last 50 years of strength conditioning. It's a lot of the same stuff because it works. It's functional. It goes well. And so it comes down to, who are you as the coach? Who are you as the person? Do you do what you say you're supposed to do? Do you have high character and morals? And if that's the case, man, it don't matter what the person down the road's doing, because you'll be just fine. And if they're the same way, then great. You're both going to be successful. There's plenty of kids in this country who are playing sports for everyone to eat at the same table, right? And so let's make sure that as coaches, we just kind of make sure that we're raising that standard and we don't just get down to nitpicking everybody all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to echo that. My kids have had some very good coaches through the years, and they've had some less than optimal coaches through the years. And it's interesting because coaching is so hard in 2025, especially these little volunteer roles of different things. Like it's, and back in our day, we just did whatever the coach said. Yes, sir. Yes, we'll do it. Here we go. Da, da, da. But when it comes to, hey, this private sector thing, which I really like the private sector thing, because you have to be good, man. You cannot, Veritas has to be good. You have to be good. If not, people won't come. They won't give you money. You can't feed your family, and you have a lot of children. So like, there's a lot of pressure here, to do really, really well and to do right by kids. So, because it's not just a 1 month thing, with these high school kids, hopefully it's a 4-year deal. If not longer, summers and colleges and stuff like that. And so, there are some less than ideal coaches out there, and I love that the idea of encouraging parents they're your kids. You need to take care of them. Find somebody that you like, know, and respect and trust with your kid, because it's a big deal. Because kids should not get hurt in the weight room. It should not happen. And sadly, you hear this within, high school strength conditioning stuff. Oh, I got crushed by the barbell on max out day. I'm like, well, that's dumb. Like,
yeah. And even just, on top of that further of like, they shouldn't be demoralized. Like, they shouldn't come home feeling defeated after a day, even if they run slow, like they lift light, like whatever it is, they don't hit what they're supposed to. That's where the coach has to come in and find the way to make them right. Not just like pat them on the butt because everybody gets a participation ribbon. Like, good job, John, you showed up. Here's your sticker. But it's like, hey, where's the successes? Like, where can we find something good in the day, even though it didn't go as planned, right? And we're not going to ignore the fact that, like, hey, times are off. Okay, cool. What did we get out of this? Like, how do we still get better, even though the times weren't as good as we wanted them to? And, that's the part where then the kids are like, they go home like, yeah, I didn't do very good, but I did do well here. Okay, cool. Right now we're starting to get there. And, for me personally, like the biggest compliment I've ever gotten is when older sibling goes through and trains, and then when they get done, whether they're done playing sports and move on to college, whatever it is, right, the family send their next sibling in. And right, to me, I'm like, you trust me with one kid, which is amazing. And now you're sending me number 2 or number 3. I'm like, that right there is the biggest compliment that will never get lost as I look at this as a coach, especially as a father of 4, right? Yeah, absolutely. If you do right by, number 1, here's 2, 3, and 4. They're coming up after it. But if you don't, we're probably going to find somebody else. And it's not just about how well they do. If they do amazing, but you're kind of a jerk, I'd rather spend my money on someone who's going to make them a little bit less amazing, but still a much better person.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Matt, people want to follow you, see all the good things that Veritas Athletic Performance is doing. Where do they go?
Man, you can go to Instagram. Coach Erdman is where that's at. Twitter, it's not Twitter anymore. X is also the same. And website is just veritasathleticperformance.com as it goes through there. For old people out there on Facebook, because that's literally the only people that are out there, it's the same as Veritas Athletic Performance.
Excellent. Excellent. Man, I really appreciate you taking the time. It's like, yeah. Well, it's nice to have, again, like-minded people within the space. There are some charlatans, and it's frustrating just to see nonsensical training, even though it looks sexy on the Instagram or something. And when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, you sprint fast, you lift heavy and fast, you change direction, you jump as hard and as high as you can. You're going to create an athlete, and you scale that from middle school to high school to college, and increase difficulty as you go. Get maybe more, geeked out in some force plate data and stuff like that as you go. But like foundationally, there's a smart foundation there with an athlete. If they can't do a push-up, they probably shouldn't be throwing 100 fastballs in the night. Like that probably is like simple things. Yes. So anyway, I appreciate you getting on, taking the time. Just because you've been doing this a while, and again, to be in the private sector, it's not like you just show up for work and people, and you get your paycheck every 2 weeks. You got to earn people's trust by doing a really good job and doing what's right, not only by them, but doing what's right to the kids. And that's a big deal, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's great to connect again, and this was fun, right? Because I was like, man, we're gonna talk some volleyball stuff, because that is fun. Like all the nerdy numbers on there as it goes through. And I'm sure I'll be reaching out to you more of like, hey, tell me, like, let's see some of these numbers a little bit closer, right? We'll nerd out a little bit.
Yeah. We'll see if my slow volleyball players are faster or slower than your slow volleyball players. It'll be fun to find out.
I like it. We'll see how it all compares. We'll have several state competition here.
There we go. Volleyball athletes. I'm joking. You have speed. You just have to find it.
That's right. It's there. We're going to unlock it. It'll be good.
It's there. Coach, thanks for taking the time. Listeners, thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for listening to another episode of Oak Performance Radio. Don't forget to check us out on the social at Oak Performance and online at www.oakstrength.com/Oak Performance. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.